Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
What?
Pascal.
Now this one is absolutely nuts, and you do not want to miss this one. Okay? Have mercy. Have mercy. Okay, guys. Well, Alec Baldwin, we got to go into this story. Alec Baldwin. If you don't remember, he was on the set of a movie that he was also producing called Rust. He shot and killed his DP, his director of photography, right there on the set with a gun that he thought was empty. The whole set believed was empty, only for the gun to be fired, killing his DP, Halyna Hutchins, and injuring his director, okay? Now, apparently the bullet was lodged in his director's shoulder, the same bullet that killed Halyna Hutchins. Okay. We all know this story, right? And this story gets thicker and thicker, and it's getting crazier and crazier, and everyone's doing this. It's his fault. No, it's his fault. No, it's her fault. No, it's his fault. You have a armorer that had no experience whatsoever, yet she came from a family of weapons experts and armorers as well, but she had no experience whatsoever handling all the guns as well. So you have all these people pointing the finger, blaming everybody else except themselves, okay? Now, Alec Baldwin has come out and has said something randomly out with his wife, basically defending himself and speaking on behalf of losing a colleague, losing somebody that he highly, highly, highly respected, okay? Now, this man is officially doing an exclusive interview tonight. It's airing tonight on ABC with George Stephanopoulos, right? I think that's how you say his last name. I keep on messing it up. But dude is great. Yeah, Stephanopoulos. Right. So, dude is a beast, okay? This looks like a very, very interesting interview. But there's something that they dropped in this promo. And shout out to the guys who put together this promo. My God, it makes me want to watch this with popcorn. You know what I mean? It's the kind of interview you want to tell everybody to shut the hell up in the room. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of vibe I'm getting. It's like, shut up. He's talking. You have silence, complete silence for 2 hours, right? Or for 1 hour, however long this interview is going to be. But the crazy thing is something that he says in this video, and I have to show it to you guys. But the thing is that I'm going to tell you this too. I am going to be jumping in and commentating in between because of, YouTubes and stuffs. Okay. So understand this is not going to be a continuous, play of the video. I have to because, of YouTube. All right. So here is the promo for Alec Baldwin's exclusive interview after this horrific event that happened on the set of Rust. Let's take a look.
She was someone who was loved by everyone who worked with and liked by everyone who worked with and admired. I mean, even now, I find it hard to believe that. It just doesn't seem real to me.
You haven't said much in public since that tragic accident. Why speak out now?
See, and that's the thing. That's my question. Why are you speaking up right now, bruh? Why right now? I mean, is this a good move on his part? Is this smart or no? Right? That's the question. But why? Great question by George Stephanopoulos. Why? Why is he finally speaking out now with George Stephanopoulos? I'm just going to say Stephanopoulos until, it turns into a drinking game. But why? Good question, right?
I think the big question, and the one you must have asked yourself 1,000 times, how could this have happened? You've described it as a 1 in a trillion shot, and the gun was in your hand. How do you come to terms with that? It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
What? Like I said, that is the bombshell line right there. I'm going to roll it back. I'm going to roll it back because I still don't believe it. I still don't believe it. He said, what?
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
What did you think happened?
Okay. I'm sorry. But he says he didn't pull the trigger? He says he didn't pull the trigger? No. Like, that doesn't work for me. So now, hold on. Because I still don't believe. We gonna play it again.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
What did you think happened?
Okay, we don't need to see the rest of it because clearly that's the biggest moment right there, right? It airs tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC. And real talk, take a look at this video or this trailer, this promo. It's very well done. But exactly, Tyler, WTF? He says, I did not pull the trigger. Now, here's the thing. Clearly, he's going to be seeing court. He's going to be seeing the inside of a courthouse. He's going to be tried. He's catching charges. Okay. But he's literally saying that he did not pull the trigger. I'm still trying to understand how you have a gun in your hand and it just goes off by itself. How does that work? He says, just so you guys hear me one more time, he says himself that he did not pull the trigger. Okay. David, you got something to say? Because to me, I'm going, how do you... No. You just, no. You, the gun was in your hand. How do you suddenly not pull a trigger that was pulled when it was in your hand? What was there a imaginary bullet that just traveled from another place that went through the set and hit them straight in the chest and the director in the shoulder? A magic bullet? Are we back in JFK assassination days? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense. It's he pulled the trigger. It doesn't even make sense to say he doesn't, because he's acted in movies where he shot at people before and pulls the trigger. I mean, that's how you fire the blanks. They don't fire on their own. You still have to pull the trigger for the blanks. Either he's in denial or he's just lying to get out of a lawsuit or something, because it doesn't fire unless you do something to it. I don't know what he was using exactly. I think he was using a revolver too, which even more so doesn't have any moving parts other than the hammer and the trigger. I guess he could have pulled the hammer back and let go. It's still the same thing as firing it though. So I don't know. I don't know what he means.
I'm going to play a little bit more of this because, George Stephanopoulos does ask a lot of good questions here. There is one part. Let me just play this. Let me just play a little bit more.
How do you respond to actors like George Clooney who say that every time they were handed a gun, they checked it themselves?
That's a very good question as well, right? Like I said, there's so all the questions that I would be asking, George is asking them right now. Like, yo, you're telling me that George Clooney says he always checks before he uses the gun. What would you say about that? But he's still, regardless, in the interview saying that he did not pull the trigger. What? I don't.
Your emotions are so clearly so right there on the surface. You felt shock. You felt anger. You felt sadness. Do you feel guilt? You said you're not a victim, but is this the worst thing that's ever happened to you?
Yes. Yeah. because I think back and I think of what could I have done.
Okay. Alec Baldwin, Unscripted. Okay. So there you have it. That's the majority of the video. Okay. Now here's the thing. My question to the fam and to David is this a smart move for Alec Baldwin? Is this smart for him to do this? Here's the reason why I ask. Because this interview is going to be extremely telling. Extremely. And they can use this interview in the court when he gets tried, when he gets brought in for trial. They can use this against him if he says anything stupid. Like, I didn't pull the trigger. Huh? Sorry, but that's a stupid thing to say on an exclusive interview with George Stephanopoulos. Okay? Drink.
And
Just doesn't make sense.
some people were saying it's an old, it could be an old revolver, but that doesn't make a difference. Basically, on the back of a round, there's this little round area that gets hit with the hammer, and then that causes an explosion that shoots the bullet out. So something needs to hit the back of that round, or that explosive's never ever going to go off.
Exactly.
That means the hammer has to hit it, and on a revolver, the hammer and the trigger are the only things that move. So either he pulled the trigger or he pulled the hammer halfway back and then let it go, so it hit the back of the round. However, it sounds like he was holding it like he was firing it, so he had to have pulled the trigger in that instance. Malfunctions don't generally speaking, a gun doesn't just randomly malfunction and fire around without any sort of button press or like trigger press. If it malfunctions, it's just not going to fire, or it's going to have a problem turning or ejecting the round. It's going to hurt you more likely than it would hurt anybody else with a malfunction. It's not going to just randomly fire on its own. Maybe if you dropped it really hard, that can trigger it in a pistol, but he didn't drop it really hard. He was holding it. So there's not really a way for him to have. There wasn't a way for that round to just leave the bullet unless he pulled back the hammer and let it go, or pulled the trigger to let the hammer go that way.
So there's that possibility, right? But still, he was still holding the gun. So regardless, say that he half pulled back the hammer and then let it go and went pop, right? Maybe that's a possibility too. That's an extremely excited bullet to get out of that gun, just to say, right? But he pulled back maybe the hammer a little bit, and then boop, and it fling back, and then it went off. But you can't sit here and say that you were not holding the gun that went off, that killed your one of your co-creators, right? And injured your director. I mean, you can't sit here and say, you just can't, man. Like I said, it just, man. I keep saying the math ain't mathing, but the math ain't mathing for me on this one. And the fact that he's saying this, it could very well be denial. It could very well be him sitting there going, bruh, I don't believe I like, maybe in his mind, he has cut that part out of his mind, out of his memory, because he just cannot even fathom the idea of taking someone's life. I mean, who does, right? If you are living a regular everyday life, I mean, obviously, Alec Baldwin's life is, I'm sure, extremely on the level of spectacular, right? As far as, just his lifestyle, right? But as far as taking someone's life, the taking of someone's life, no one ever really imagines that happening, being in the same room as someone else and actually taking that innocent person's life. No one ever thinks that. No one. So I could see where there is that denial, right? Famous quote from American Beauty: never underestimate the power of denial. Never. So maybe he's just in a full-on level of denial, right? Or maybe he's just in some cocaine-induced trance where he's getting his Charlie, Charlie, I forgot his name now. Damn. what's his name? Charlie Sheen. Getting his Charlie Sheen on right now, just full on in a completely different stratosphere right now, mindset, because he just cannot believe that he was the person that took another person's life. I mean, think about it. That's insane. It's an insane thought. I could never sit here and say that I would ever be mentally prepared, right, for anything like that to happen, especially when you're. And I do think that he is innocent with this situation, innocent in the act of holding the gun and not knowing that there was a bullet in the gun. It was a massive mistake. He will be tried. God knows what will happen, but he should be charged. I do believe that, because someone is not here anymore. A mother, a human being is not here on this planet because of negligence. So this is it's a tough one. And I can see I could see him going like, I wasn't even there. You know what I mean? You know, just denying. Because he's like, I would never take someone's life. Sure, I'm an ass. Sure, I'm this, that, and the third. Sure, I'm Alec Baldwin. But me taking someone's life? Oh my God, I could never do that. Right?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, what makes this strange still is that this happened, from what I understand, between shoots. So they weren't doing a scene at the time. He might have been practicing for one. They never said explicitly. I mean, it makes sense if they were going to go into a next scene, which that's kind of what they do at movies usually. They do a scene, they do a run, and then they do the next scene. So I don't know. I guess during that interim time, he was playing with the gun, or he was practicing the scene, one of the two, and he pointed it at them, and it went off. He still pointed it at them, and I don't know. Like, he's pointing a gun at people, not during a scene or anything. If that's not part of the script, why is he even doing it? They say it's not part of the script, but I don't have the script. I haven't seen it.
Right.
I don't know. This is all very strange. It just doesn't make sense that if they're practicing a scene or they're in between a scene where he uses the gun, he's just either playing with it or holding it, and it accidentally goes off somehow. But still, something has to move, and I mean, see, even if the gun was cocked back when he got it, that might be a possibility here where he didn't realize he was pulling the hair trigger, because a lot of revolvers are double action. So, or I think it's what's called. So, like, you pull the trigger, it pulls the hammer back, and then it locks the hammer there. You keep pulling the trigger, and then it sends it forward. So it takes a lot more pressure to fire it that way on the trigger. But if somebody already had the hammer cocked back, the trigger's already mostly back. All you have to do is barely touch it at that point to send the hammer forward, or most revolvers, and then it will fire. So that's very likely something that did happen, is he didn't realize how easy it is to fire a double action revolver once it's been pulled back, especially if he's only fired for like the start of a scene or something. That's the only possibility I can really think of, though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the whole idea of the denial. And then it's like, did he really? Did he not really? All that. No, he pulled the trigger, man. I mean, I'm sorry, he pulled the trigger. And Rondell asked, if he's innocent, then why would he get tried? Right. Well, lawfully speaking. Right. There's moral, and then there's the law, right? There's the human condition, and then there's the law, right? When you look at something like we were looking at the Kyle, I forgot his name, forgot the Chris Reed situation where the two men were fighting on the front porch of this guy Kyle's house. He comes out with his rifle, shoots him dead on the ground, right? Well, there's the law, and then there's moral, right? Morally speaking, Kyle's a piece of trash, but the law will protect him because he still has that castle doctrine where he can literally brandish a gun, tell somebody to get off his property, because in the law, in the eyes of the law, he is that person that was there was quote unquote an assailant, right? I forgot the other word, but a threat, posing as a threat in his eyes, right? So there's the law and then there's morals, right? Morally speaking, he's a piece of trash. Legally, he's going to be protected because he's got laws. Now, when you look at this situation, Alec Baldwin, morally, I don't think he wanted to kill anybody. Morally, I think he is innocent. But in the eyes of the law, he still shot somebody. Will he see something like manslaughter? What kind of level, what kind of degree of charges is he going to get? He will be charged. But as far as morally speaking, just on the human condition of things, I do think that he is innocent. So that's what I mean by that. Okay. In the eyes of the law, he will be charged. And then he will be brought in. And then they're going to sit there, find out if he is guilty or not guilty. Right? Kyle Rittenhouse, perfect example. Morally speaking, I think he was guilty. Right? But in the eyes of the law, they were able to finesse around and get himself some not guilty charges because of all these technicalities. But morally speaking, I do think what that kid did was very, very bad. So that's what I mean. So when it comes to Alec Baldwin, we will see. I do think he's innocent in regards to the moral, the human condition of things. I don't think that he literally knew that there was a bullet in that gun. Hell to the no. I don't think that at all. I think he had the gun, and the AD, the assistant director, said, this gun is cleared. Cold gun. Cool. I believe you, buddy. Now we're blocking. Boom. Oh my God. What? That's what happened. Not, there's a bullet in here, buddy. Oh, there is? Okay, cool. Hey, Halyna, come here. Bang. No, not at all. Not at all. So he might think in his mind that he didn't pull the trigger. Right? But we will see. But when it comes to this interview, does this look good for him or not? And that's the question here, because they will use this in court. When he sees the inside of a courtroom, they will be using this. They're going to look at this interview with a fine-tooth comb. They're going to comb through this bad boy and try to find anything as far as the prosecutors. They're going to try to find anything under the sun to try to bury Alec Baldwin when they try him for whatever he ends up getting charged for. Okay.
I don't think he's going to be able to get away with it just because of that even. Because ultimately, even if that's not how they do it on the stage normally, it is still his responsibility to have made sure the weapon was cleared when he got it and that it was not loaded with live ammunition when he received it. Even if that's not how they do it, that is still your responsibility. And he will be charged with those, most likely, because that is a crime to negligently use a firearm without having checked it beforehand. I mean, there's a lot of crimes they could get here. I mean, if this is actually a revolver that somehow keeps cocking and firing itself, like some people are saying, that it just keeps firing itself at random during the show or movie, I mean, this should have been gone within the first day.
Thank you.
I don't know how you would have that there at all in any circumstance. That's ignoring how there's even a bullet there. But ultimately, so there's the armory that has a lot of responsibility there too. For most likely they're the responsible party for getting that live round in there. I'm assuming that it wasn't put there intentionally, because it doesn't seem like that would be the case here. But still, it's his responsibility. He's the one that had it. He's the one that pointed it at a person, especially when it wasn't necessary to do so. It's apparently not even part of the scene, so that it's not part of the scene that he's supposed to aim at the camera, even though that's what he would have had to been doing, to be aiming directly at the DP since she was at the camera. And he didn't check it beforehand. He didn't make sure it was safe. He's playing with it between, even if he's using it between sets and not playing with it, he didn't have the safety on. He didn't check that. I mean, these are still things you're supposed to be responsible for, even if you think you're just playing with a toy, because it still can kill people. Obviously, it did. And so the only person that can ultimately be responsible for what's in your hand is you, because you're the only one that's there that can look at it and make sure that it's safe at that instant before you do anything with it. And he did not do that. Sure, like the armory is supposed to do their job and they didn't, but it's his responsibility to make sure that he's using it correctly, because other people will mess up, as they did, and you will have a live round in there, as he did, and you might accidentally fire it, as he did, if you don't check it before every instance and make sure that it's safe. This is just standard kind of protocol in dealing with firearms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Standard protocol that goes in when it comes to dealing with firearms. And the thing is that it all goes down to who they ended up hiring to be the armorer as well. And that person has as much responsibility and as much blame as Alec Baldwin. They were negligent when it came to handling the weapons. If they knew of anything, they should have done what they needed to do before they handed that gun to Alec Baldwin. But at the same time, Alec Baldwin is the one that did pull the trigger. And he is the face. And he is also a producer of this movie as well. So he hired this chick. He hired this woman to do this job. And she had no experience whatsoever. Like I said, there are so many pieces to this story that make you go, well, you shouldn't have cut corners. All of it comes down to them trying to cut corners, trying to save some money, and now somebody has died and another person has been severely injured. But like I said, that interview pops off tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will be watching it tonight, and hopefully maybe I'll hop on right afterwards to do kind of like a discussion about the interview, because I will be watching it, because that's going to be a mind-blowing interview. The fact that he is saying that he didn't pull the trigger is unbelievable to me. But like I said before, never underestimate the power of denial, for sure.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.